Yes. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that shirt? Yeah, doesn't matter. I got that shirt from Retro Rags. They're awesome. Tis I, the Eternian King. I, completely unscripted. No notes or anything like that. I wanted to talk about storytelling. I want to talk about, I don't know, I want to talk about history. I want to talk about what the hell is going on. I want to know what the heck is going on with Matel. Okay? I mean, I can focus on that. I want to know what's going on with He-Man and She-Ra and Masters of the Universe, the greatest storytelling that there ever was. That's what I want to know. I want to know what's going on. Matel is a company that most recently, the only thing they've done in terms of storytelling that you can look at is the Max Steel movie, which is nonsense. And mind you, it wasn't particularly bad, and I didn't see any political agendas in it, which is a good thing. But it was just a nonsense, childish movie. And, you know, I think Mattel can do better than that. I know I can do better than that. And who the heck am I? You know, some guy? Yeah. I can do better than that. I have. I have storyboards that are the most awesome stories that would ever exist in the history of time. You want to know how to do a Transformers movie? You ask me. You don't ask Michael Bay. You ask me, this guy. You want to know how to do a good Robotech movie? You talk to this guy. I storyboarded it a long time ago. You know what happened a long time ago? Because you can only go back so far. You can go back to written history, as far as we know, and we know throughout history there's been a lot of points where there was a lot of book burning going on. But we can go back to a few thousand years ago, give or take the Dark Ages, dun dun dun, or as the Russians call it, what the heck is the Dark Ages? Yeah, the history of storytelling, or as I'm going to call it, mythos, mythology. I believe that mythology predates religion, but mythology also was religion. Storytelling, really good storytelling, seeded religion in every facet that has eventually become the institutionalized religion that we have now, where you have to go talk to the guy with the funny hat to tell you what the book says, because the book is full of so much continuity and scribbly scrabble, and it's been rewritten so many times that nobody knows the difference between meditating in front of a Stargate and aliens who transport through interdimensional Stargates with MacGyver. We don't know anymore. But throughout history, people had stories. Now, for a long time, I think some of these stories were basically the same stories being told over and over. I think that at some point in time, the stories became ingratiated by the authorship. And so somewhere along the line, people started writing books and stuff and trying to say, wow, look at what this author wrote. Look what I did, or whatever. Somewhere along the timeline, stories became a publishing game, and you know, bookshelves became filled with fantasy and ridiculousness, and continuities weren't that important, and meaning and message and value wasn't that important. especially along the line, television came into play. And with television, there's been some good stuff and bad stuff, you know. And television also has weird guys with funny hats that tell you what's going on, you know. Really small hats, you know what I'm saying? The Jews. That's okay. This rant's about no, 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 no. Yes, I'll tell him. In order to find his equal, an Irishman is forced to talk to God. Mythos. Religion is mythos. And what mythos does is it inspires ethos. Ethos is reality. It's the earth. It is everything. And within mythos or ethos, you need to balance logos with pathos, the logical and the passionate, the emotional, the masculine and the feminine. You know, like He-Man and She-Ra. And you need to pursue eros, or peace and order, and you need to avoid chaos, or disorder. And to a certain extent, all things come out of disorder. You might look at the universe and say there's a whole lot of disorder out there. Yeah. Nonetheless, getting back to history, there was a certain era that I found growing up in the late 70s and early 80s. There was an era of television where they tried to figure out the best stories they could do, and I think to an extent they also got tired of coming up with episodal stories, and they got a little lazy. But they were having fun with it while they were doing it, and they put a lot of good effort out, okay? And of course, I'm thinking about companies like the animation that came from Hanna-Barbera and Filmation that eventually gave us Masters of the Universe. And that's the thing I'm kind of focusing on. Masters of the Universe could have been one of the best stories ever told. Within, you know, and it could be completely chaotic and blind ambition that created that show, but within the show there are symbols that you find in some of the most ancient stories out there. You know, I mean, before the Bible gave us this guy Jesus, there was Horus and Isis and Osiris. And, you know, Isis was this magical goddess who could turn herself into a bird. Sound familiar? Sure. And what about that red iron cross thing? Isn't that the Temple of Man? The Templars, you know? Which was the best option to institutionalize religions for a long time. The Temple of Man. They destroyed it. They crushed it. And they've done everything in the history books to convince you that the Templars were bad. But the Temple of Man, that's like He-Man. Eh? Yeah. And, you know, I just can't imagine how there was an era of television where all these people were trying as hard as they could, and they never quite told a proper story from beginning to end, and they never mastered the art of storytelling with meaning and message and value. I did in my storyboards, but I ain't getting into Hollyweird these days, because Hollyweird, they're a closed club. They don't let anybody in. In fact, they make characters all the time mocking organic, normal, regular people. They go out of their way to make fun of regular, normal, everyday people. This is something that Hollywood is really good at. And everything they do is degenerate. Everything they do is propaganda. I've done lengthy videos on this. Or at least, well, I did one lengthy video on this, and I continue to touch on it. Even if nobody's watching. And you should be watching. You should be interacting with me. The Eternian King has a lot to teach you. And I wanted to make a point, even though I didn't plan this video out at all. I wanted to make a point that, you know, waiting for the right people to do the right thing seems to be impossible these days. Like sitting around waiting for the government to govern things properly, you're going to wait till you're dead. Waiting for the people in Hollywood, like a company like Matel, waiting for them to tell a proper Masters of the Universe story when they've had all this time to figure it out, and I've figured it out, and I don't work for Matel, you're going to wait till you're dead. Sitting around waiting for the education system to teach you the things that they have worked for 1,000 years to cover up so that you don't learn, you're going to wait till you're dead. Waiting for the stores to sell you something that you really need rather than something that isn't quite what you need, so you keep coming back and buying stuff because the last thing you bought wasn't quite what you wanted, you're going to wait till you're dead. And you know, I want to say something positive. I want to be helpful. And I think that in the end, maybe this small ability of people to maybe make their own videos and communicate with each other, maybe that's the best that there is. You know, when I was a little kid, I remember my grandparents teaching me stuff out of the thin air. You know, I remember my grandpa talking about things. I remember my grandma reading us stories out of little books that she had. We don't even know where she got these books. You know, maybe there's a human element about storytelling and teaching people mythos and ethos, as mythos guides and strengthens ethos. Teaching you to balance logic and reason with emotion and setting goals, the masculine and the feminine. People are just going to have to teach each other this. And I don't know, I think we're even going to have to wait for a more organic internet platform too, because YouTube is being shadow banned and everybody's being kicked off of YouTube who says any truth and reason. If you talk about reality, if you talk about what's going on in the world, they shut you down. Or they fiddle with your numbers so that nobody will see you, or no one will want to see you. And people might even interact with you and their comments don't show up in the comment section, and then you get all kinds of paranoia. And I try not to let paranoia get to me. I try not to. I'm like the smartest person alive, and I'm just like, well, I sure hope YouTube isn't messing with my numbers. But that's okay. Maybe one day things will make sense. Maybe everything will be principled and everything will be the way that it should be. Maybe one day. But it's definitely not going in that direction now. You know, when I was a kid and you turned on the TV and there were guys like Bob Ross doing his paintings and he was like, let's put a little tree in there. That's nice. You know, sound like an Irishman. Yeah. Used to turn on the TV and there was just like, you know, there was a distraction from reality. And none of it necessarily made any sense. But it felt like the people who were making those shows were really trying. Like they were working hard to get the story right. And that if they kept going and kept going, if they kept pumping it out, eventually they would come to a really, really good story that would be the best story ever told. That would be better than any of the ancient mythologies or any of the book scramblings that have comprised religious institutions for 1,000 years. And mind you, over that 1,000 years, we've seen a lot of book burning. So you can also assume that maybe one day when they get the stories right, then there's going to be some group that's going to come along and burn all the books. And then who knows how long it'll take before you get good storytelling again. Who knows? Anyway, if you want good storytelling now, then my storyboards are ready to go. If you're waiting for Matel to do it, I wouldn't hold your breath. I wouldn't, you know. Otherwise, I salute you. If you're still watching my videos, if you still care about what I do, then thank you. And maybe one of these days I'll give up. Maybe. If nobody cares, then nobody cares. And that's part of the collapse of society. And if culture and history is a roller coaster and people go through their ups and downs, then we're on a downward slope, and maybe if we just wait long enough, things will get good again. I've been waiting a while. And one of the downward slopes is definitely the drop in intelligence and the drop in health standards and a number of other standards that people used to look after in their world that they don't anymore. Feels like nobody's trying. People need to learn how to get organized. I don't know if that's something that I know how to do, but I know all it would take is for people to pay attention to the mass, the group, the entity. I'm trying not to say me. I'm trying not to say, if people followed me, I'm the Eternian King. If people followed me, like John Denver said this, he said, "Follow me where I go, what I do and who I know. Make it part of you to be a part of me. Follow me up and down, all the way and all around. Take my hand and I will follow you." Bro. I don't know. I know that I feel like I need to keep making videos just in case people start watching them. Just in case people start paying attention. I know at least that much. Anyway, I ranted long enough. I've made very little point. I've succeeded only so far. But truth and reason, passion, and energy, these things are there. People have this. I have this. That's how I know. Because I believe in people. I believe in me. And if I'm just like everybody else, then I have to believe in everybody else. That's the temple of man. Like, like He-Man. Somebody correct me when I'm wrong, Or engage with me. Tell me that you like what I'm doing, And you can tell me why. I've said this before. Tell me why. Or don't. You can wait for the four horsemen. They're actually the three horsemen, but whatever. I think there should be more. I think three horsemen isn't good enough. I think Death, he's got his horse, right? And the story goes that his horse is a white horse, pale white horse, because in Death there's hope, and the white horse represented hope. I don't have much of that. But, all the ways that society can fall apart, famine and plague and war. What about degeneracy? What about the lack of the lack of scrutiny around the systems that we create that everybody can follow through the system to understand where you belong and what you can do and make the most of yourself. What horse is that? I don't know. Rollin', 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 keep them doggies rollin', rawhide, whoosh. Through all kinds of weather, hell-bent for leather, wishing my girl was by my side. Ride 'em up, ride 'em in, roll 'em out, pack 'em in, ride 'em up, rawhide. Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, got the pink shirt on, which means I'm serious. The Eternian King says hi. And bye. All at the same time. Thanks for watching.